Hello and welcome to the Ridiculously Good VA Show with Tracy Daviero. If you are a virtual assistant or want to be one, this is the place to learn the tips and tricks you need to become a ridiculously good VA. I've been a part of the VA industry since 1998, and I'm excited to get to know you and help you build an amazing business. Let's go. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast that teaches you how to be a ridiculously good virtual assistant. Today, I want to talk about how to be ridiculously good at managing multiple clients, their requests, their work, their deadlines, and more. Today's quote is from Vince Lombardi. And the quote is, "It takes months to find a customer and seconds to lose one." So many VAs I talk to struggle with how to maintain quality service for their clients as they get busier. It takes a lot of effort, a little bit of planning, but it can be done. And you have to do it if you want to hang on to those clients. Let's go. Having lots of clients is a good thing, but if you can't manage your workload, then it can be really stressful for everyone. There are many times when having too many priorities comes up, but handling your workload well on a regular basis is going to help you manage the client relationships so much better. Let's talk about your first clients. We get excited and then we get into the habit of answering their emails quickly, finishing their tasks quickly, and basically just giving them really fast service. I've done this. I know all new VAs do it. We have all kinds of time, and it's not a bad thing to be responsive and to be really helpful and be really quick. I mean, they're paying you, right? But the problem with that is it's not sustainable as you gain more clients, which you're going to do if you are a successful VA. And imagine being the client who used to get same-day service in the beginning and then all of a sudden gets slowed right down and being told, "I'll do that on Thursday," or, "We can't get to that today." It doesn't really feel good, does it? And it's one of the biggest problems that new VAs face. Like Vince says in today's quote, it takes months to get a great client and seconds to lose one. And that is so true. We work so hard to get our clients. It's really important to work with them in a way that helps them feel valued, and also so that we can make sure that they are valuing us. So how do we manage it? Well, for starters, you want to make sure that you work smarter from the get-go, which can be a real challenge because you often have nothing else to do. Like I said, you have all the time in the world, and maybe you're just working with one client, but you have to handle that client as though you already have a full schedule. If you've already started working with someone, then you're probably going to have a conversation, maybe an uncomfortable one, with that client, or face the disappointment that I described earlier. This happened to me when one of my clients said to me, "You used to be a lot more responsive and a lot faster than you are now." And I know it. I've had that conversation. They don't like being downgraded from being what seems to be your highest priority. So you have to build your business with the intention of managing the tasks of many clients. You probably never really thought about it before. I certainly didn't. When I first started working, I just looked after the people that were paying me. But then as I got busier and busier, I had to start to juggle and manage, and you're going to have to do that too. So let's talk about how you can do that. The first thing you have to be able to do is tell your clients that they are not your only client. They can't treat you like their assistant because you are not. You're a VA that they have hired to do their admin work, whatever those tasks are. And they have to treat you like any other business that they would outsource to. Part of working with the target market is looking for clients who are great. I tell you this all the time. And that means that clients who value you and understand that you are working together, that you are not working for them. Those are the great clients. If they think you're only working for them, or that they are your highest priority because they're paying you, you're going to run into problems regularly. So be sure to start with that. Have that conversation. Let them know that you're in charge of your own schedule. They can let you know what they need done, but they cannot dictate when you do it or when you're going to be able to turn it around for them. They can let you know when it is due or when they need it by, but they have to deal with things like your lead times, things like your turnaround times, and that type of thing. They cannot insist on having something done quickly or by XYZ date. There are lots of different ways to do work for multiple clients, and they all require the use of your schedule. And so, number one is use your schedule. Some VAs will set aside large blocks of time to work on stuff for client A, client B, etc. I'm really not a big believer in blocking off large blocks of time in any day, any given day. If you have 5 clients and you book 2 hours today for client A, then what happens to the other 4 clients? They might not get taken care of until tomorrow. And again, that priority is really, really important, especially to new clients, right? My preferred way of working with multiple clients is to block off shorter blocks of time, not 2 hours, 30 minutes, even less if you can, but 30 minutes works. You can always circle back to client A's work later in the day if you need to. And I usually estimate that VAs are working with 4 or 5 clients at once. Some are busier and some are not, but 4 or 5 is pretty standard. And so being able to work 30 minutes at a time, you can fit everybody's work in, some part of everybody's work in every single day. And what you want to do is break up all those tasks that you're doing for your clients into smaller time buckets, not those 2-hour time buckets. But if you're, for instance, working on their newsletter, don't try to sit down and figure out all of the pieces of the newsletter in one sitting, right? And then try to produce that newsletter within the hour. You want to break down the pieces of what needs doing into much smaller tasks so that you can do them a little bit at a time. That's what's going to help you manage your time better, and certainly managing multiple clients at the same time. For the newsletter, there are multiple steps that you need to do to get it done. And you also want to make sure to factor in breaks to your day. Burnout is real and it can rob you of valuable time. If you are putting large blocks of client time together and you're not factoring in breaks, you're probably working one thing to another, running from one task to another. And it's not good for your concentration. It's not good for your efficiency. It's not good for anything. Shorter blocks of time are going to help you with something like that. Long periods of time are they're just bad for so many reasons. Like I say, it's one of the things that we do is we give ourselves open-ended time slots to get things done. And it's a proven fact that the longer you give yourself to do something, the longer it's going to take to do it. So if you shorten up that time that you give yourself to do this task or do that task, you're going to become more efficient at it. You're going to be doing it in less amount of time. And you also need to make sure that you're planning the right amount of time to complete every task on your task list. If you're constantly or every day going over that time, you really need to revise the time estimate. Time management is really, really important, but it's not about saying, I'm going to work for client A for 2 hours and client B for 2 hours. You want to put specific things into that schedule and say, I'm going to finish these 5 things for this client today. And this is how my time breaks down, not just a large bucket and arbitrary, I'm going to work for this person. It's really important to define what you're going to do in that, because that's what helps you to control that. Now, another thing that I use is checklists, and I talk about it often, so forgive me if you've heard me talk about it before. But instead of booking an hour for any client and starting from scratch, I'm going to suggest that what you do instead is you create a checklist of everything that you need to do. When you're working with a checklist, you're just more focused on what you're doing. You pay attention a little bit more. You look at how long each of those steps takes to complete, and then you book those times into your calendar. So take that checklist and say, okay, well, what can I do from this checklist? Can I do like numbers 1 to 5, or can I do numbers 1 and 2 and 8 and 9? Like, how does it kind of work out, right? You want to look at how long each of those steps takes to complete, and that's the time that you want to book into your calendar. You have to think about it when you look at a blank calendar. How many 15-minute or 30-minute time slots do you have in a day? You have all kinds of them. And it really is easier to fill those in by doing something and knowing what that thing is that takes 15 to 30 minutes. And then once you complete that task, then you move on to something else. So breaking up those tasks into smaller time buckets with a start and a stop time makes a lot of sense, especially when you have a lot of things to do. For me, I also think it makes it easier to mix up your day. It's more interesting than sitting down and powering through 2 hours of client work for one particular client. I love to create checklists for everything that I do, and I find that they not only help you make sure that you don't miss the steps because you don't even have to think about them, it helps you work much more efficiently too. And one of the things that checklists do is stop the need to remember where you left off or think about what the next step is. And that sounds really minor, but when you're talking about using your brain space and all the things that we need to think about during the day in our business, I find it really helpful to just show up. I put my checklist in Trello. I show up in Trello and I can go, oh, I don't have to think about what I did last because it's checked off. I just know where I need to start. And honestly, that transition time of trying to figure out where I left off and where it is and where's this file and whatever, it's just non-existent because of the checklists. It seems like something that's super simple, but it really does free up your brain space. And I think it saves me a lot of time and therefore will save you a lot of time too. Communication is another really important piece of managing multiple clients. And actually, it's likely one of the most important parts. If your clients have to wonder about the progress of their tasks, that is not good. They can become anxious, whether they tell you they are or not, and it can lead to being unhappy with your work. So, communication is always key. You want to let them know that you received their work request or their email or their message or whatever. Just tell them, got this. I'll work on it, whenever. You let them know when you're going to be able to take care of something or work on it or complete it for them. So if you say to them, I got this, I'll let you know tomorrow when I can slot it into the schedule, that's acceptable. You can say, I got this. I have time Thursday afternoon. I'll complete it then. Or you can say to them, I got this. What is your deadline to complete this? You really do want to be communicative with them. It's very important. You want to let them know the status of everything you're doing, whether you're on time or not. If you're ahead of time, great. If you're behind time, you want to let them know that. You don't want any surprises. It's really important in the communication. And you do want to let them know if anything goes wrong that they have to fix, or if they have to approve, or if they have to know about it. Sometimes they don't have to do anything except be advised, right? And you want to let them know what kinds of lead times you need for all of the tasks you do for them. You don't have to have like a blanket 24-hour lead time. There can be different lead times for different projects. I know for me, when I was working on virtual events, there's no way that I could have had a 24-hour notice on something. I needed to know ahead of time what the schedule was for the, reminder emails, for the follow-up emails, for all of that kind of thing. It's important to know what the lead times are for all of those things. You also need to let them know what they have to provide for you in order for you to get their work done efficiently and on time. I'll go back to the newsletter example. If you are, gathering information, or if you're pulling their information together for their newsletter, what do they have to do and when do they have to get those pieces to you so that you have enough time to turn it around? It's really important. And in terms of communication, you want to set a method of communication and hold them to it. A production meeting once a week, an email for the rest of the week, or a project management system, through email is really good. And if they can access you in more than one place, you're probably spending more time on communication than you should. Now, you're going to bill them for all the communication that you provide for them or that you have with them. And you want to make sure that you keep that really tight. Whatever your processes are, whatever your procedures are, you want to be able to make sure that they're sticking within those. But the bottom line is, if somebody goes over on a meeting, they're getting billed for it because your time is valuable. And if somebody is looking to use more of your time in meetings, then they need to pay for it. I still advise against them, and that's actually my next section of what I want to talk about is production meetings. If you can book a weekly production meeting with every single client that you have, that will help you keep the rest of the week's communication going where it needs to go via email or project management system only. Not a big fan of DMs. I know that you guys know this about me, but I'm going to tell you again, it's not a great paper trail. And I don't know about you, but my social media messages are very, very busy. And so I definitely don't need my clients going through those as well. But in terms of meetings, now I'm a big fan of production meetings. I talk about them all the time. In general, meetings are a waste of people's time. Not these ones, though, so stick with me for a second. The more time your clients keep you in meetings, the less time you can actually dedicate to working on their tasks. I've talked to so many VAs who tell me that their clients meet them to death. They just absolutely do. They need to talk to me all the time. And I challenge them every day and I say, no, they do not. You need to be the one who is taking charge of the communication in the relationship. They can't sit and talk to you all day long. You have to have time to do their work. And so a good production meeting helps you to keep on top of the priorities for everybody. It helps you give that once a week touch point with the client, which I think is super important for nurturing your relationship with them. And yeah, just making sure that you're working as efficiently as you can. Mondays are always a good day for production meetings, at least they were for me. And when you can keep them to 20 minutes long, even if you have 6 clients, you can be done your calls by noon and you can still have all day to work. I know I didn't do that whenever I was working with my clients. I tended to go long with them and I burned my Mondays. So Monday, I really didn't do any client work. And that to me, I just don't think is efficient. So I've done it the wrong way and now I want to teach you the right way. So if you have 6 clients, book them in every 30 minutes starting at 9 a.m. on your workday, and you will be able to get through those 6. You're going to keep a strict agenda and you're going to make sure that that meeting only goes for 20 minutes every single week. If you are talking weekly and you have an agenda that the client is aware of, maybe the first couple times it might be a little rocky, but you're striving to get to the 20 minutes, and that is going to be done by keeping your agenda. And then once you finish the call, I want you to take another 10 minutes right away to put your notes into the project management system based on what you talked about. So there's a 30-minute block of time that comes out of your calendar, but you've done a production call, and because you stopped it at the 20 minutes, you have that extra 10 minutes to just process the information that came from that meeting and put it into the place where it goes. And it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, then you bill the client 30 minutes for that meeting. Not the 20 minutes that you were on the call, the extra 10 as well. The key is making sure that the client is aware that it's a productivity session. And so it's a high level overview of what's going to happen in the coming week only. It's not a work session, it's not a strategy session. Those calls are strictly productivity. What are we doing this week? What do you need to get me? What do I need to get you? And move from there, right? You're creating agenda and you're sticking to it. Some smaller clients are not going to need the full 20 minutes, so you'll buy a little time back there. But even your busiest or biggest clients can have a 20-minute meeting. And even if you don't think they can, I will challenge you to do that because I did it every single week with my 6 and 7 figure business coaches. We had 20-minute meetings and everybody appreciated it because they had their 10 minutes at the end too, where once we hung up from our 20, they could book in 10 more minutes for themselves to get a little bit organized. And it's so important. But in those meetings, you don't need to cover all of the details. That's what your project management software is for. So, for example, we're doing a newsletter this week with a client. Where are the pieces for that? Is something that you could ask on a production call. We have 3 group sessions coming up this week. What's outstanding for those? Are the reminders ready to go? Just as a double check. Or we're planning for that event next month. Where do we stand on the call for speakers? And is there anything new coming down the pipe? It's really easy to create an agenda for a weekly production meeting. If you don't have one, reach out to me because I can help you figure one out, or I can, sort of provide you with one that I have. But it is your job to keep things moving on the session and to be efficient. You are the one who's in charge of the call, not the client. It's a VA call. It's your production call. It's not a gab session or a work session. You can exchange pleasantries at the beginning. That's totally fine. But don't jump in to your 20-minute time slot. Even if you have, you do your 20 minutes and you can chat privately at the end, that's okay too. But because it's weekly, it's meant to be a quick connect meeting because you can actually cover so much information in 20 minutes than probably 50 or 100 emails, honestly. And the nice thing is you can get the answers to questions quickly. When you have a conversation with a client, you can ask them questions and they will answer them right away because they know the answers. And then you nurture that working relationship because you're actually speaking with each other every week, which I think is super invaluable. So if a client decides to add a new priority midweek and you've already had your production call, all you have to do is ask them what can be moved to the next week or later in the week, that kind of thing. Or you can let them know what your suggestion is, which is probably even better. And then another thing that I want you to do, yes, it is my last point, I'm just double checking, is to focus. And I know that this is solid advice, but I also know that you hear it time and time again, right? Is being able to focus on what it is that you're working on every minute of every day. The best way to get more done is simply to pay attention to what you're doing and strive to do it more efficiently. And that is what we call focus. That's you need to be focused on what it is you're doing. You need to avoid those distractions. You need to set those buckets of time, definitely those start and stop times. Keep yourself accountable for what you say something, the length of time you say something is going to take you to do, and strive to complete it in that time. Use your checklist to keep track of what you need to do and what's done. I absolutely love my checklists. I use them all the time for so many things that I do. I don't have to think about it. I just need to check off where I left off. And the next time in, I just need to pick it up again. It's super, super easy. And of course, I don't miss the extra steps. And so you do not need to rush your work. I think that that's another key thing. You need to teach your clients that your lead times and your deadlines are very firm. And like I said, they're not the same for every single task. Some things you may need 1 day's notice. Some days you need some things you need 3 or 4 days notice, maybe even more than that. So you want to make sure that your clients are really clear on that. You want to manage those expectations of what it is that they need to help you do. You definitely need to say no to things that you don't want to do or that you can't do. This is a real challenge as well when we start to work with people and we think, well, they need me, they need this. You want to be stellar at everything that you do, and being able to do that is really, really tough sometimes. So you need to put a little extra effort into it. And you should also be automating where you can. I like to think checklists are a form of automation because it's about time management, and automation to me is very much about time management. But what are the things that you can use in your business that can help automate some of the things, or your client's business that can automate some of the things that you're doing? It might be really, really helpful. And again, make sure that you bill all of the work that you do for your clients to them. There is no free time. Meetings are billable, communication is billable, managing their tasks and their projects are visible or is billable. I need you to stay organized and stay in charge. When you do those two things, your clients are going to react to you completely differently. When you run that production meeting, they are going to understand that you are the one in charge and they are the ones who are providing the pieces, whatever the guts are of the things that you're working on together. If you manage your client expectations and you master your communication, you're going to go very, very far. I'm going to leave it here for today because I think we're already quite past our regular time. This is exactly what I help VAs do. As a VA coach and trainer, I help you set yourself up for success, helping you to fix the specific things that are going wrong in your business. When we work together, either privately or in a group, we talk really clearly and specifically about your business and you. There really isn't a one-stop solution for everyone when it comes to service businesses like your VA business. I'll help you get clarity around your issues and cheer you on as you walk through the steps to fix them. I've helped hundreds of VAs through their challenges and got them on their way to growing their business and the lifestyle that they dream of, and I would love to do the same thing for you. You can work with me privately, or you can join the Virtual Circle, my mastermind group for VAs. Check it out at yourvamentor.com/TVC, as in the virtual circle. I would bet it's exactly what you need to start running the VA business that you dreamed of. Reach out to me if you're interested. That's all I've got for you this week. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Ridiculously Good VA Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more great resources for your VA business, visit my website at yourvamentor.com. I'll see you back here next time.